So we work with athletes to make sure. Now, we don't tell them where to invest their money, but we do help them with the budgeting point of view.
Right.
Then let me jump back to Ernest Graham. The first time I interviewed Ernest Graham, he was an All-American running back at the University of Florida. Then he went on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I say to him, what's one of the coolest things that you did in the NFL that's different than anyone else? And he sat there for a second, and he looks at me and he goes, well, he said, I took my signing bonus and I invested it. I said, you did what? He goes, oh yeah. He said, I was ready from the get-go. He goes, and then shortly after that, I opened an insurance company while I was in the NFL so that I knew if my days were shortened, I was going right into a business. And that kind of, that's a leader, right? That's a leader. But you've got guys coming in and getting sign-us bonuses of millions of dollars. And within a couple of years, because of injuries or trades, or they don't perform at the level they thought, and they've spent that money. The average age of a professional, or number of years of a professional athlete could be 3 to 4 years of playing time, the average, at a very high level. And then, of course, you got the freaks like Tom Brady and LeBron James that go for 300 years. They're like Moses, for God's sake, still playing sports, and you just can't even believe it. They put their walkers on their seat and they get out on the court and the adrenaline takes over. But, we need these leaders. And that's what the book is about, lifting the world up to understand, what does a leader look like? How do we face our challenges? God, Chad, and I know that I'm going off here because I get so excited talking about this stuff. But, we have this program in the book that we teach people, how to do sizzle reels with their hottest days, their hottest. And then we say, you've got to also do a sizzle reel with your worst day, because your good stuff, your strengths, is not your problem. This video over here, a sizzle reel with your crap, is your problem. And let's clean this one up. And that is a powerful exercise we ask all of them to go through.
Yeah, I like that theme. And I like how it runs through the narrative of all these GOATs that you're talking about, from Moses Malone to Charles Barkley to LeBron James to Djokovic, and some of the great coaching leaders as well, like Phil Jackson, the Zen master of the NBA. And really what I'm hearing as a consistent theme is the importance of adversity and how you process and respond to adversity, whether it's on the court or in your life outside the sport. You've told narratives, and the common theme is that even like Charles Barkley, the adversity he faced was the criticism from Moses Malone. And instead of saying, gosh, this guy's a jerk and I'm not going to listen to a thing he has to say and dismissing him, he really took it to heart and said, what can I do? What does this say about me, and what can I do to be better? And really internalized that and focused on it. And I think that processing and handling of adversity is such a key feature of success in any walk of life. And one of the people that my son Braden has had the opportunity to engage with that has had a great impact on him is John Beck, who is a quarterback coach, but he's way beyond a quarterback coach. He's really a sports psychologist and has done great work with some amazing NFL quarterbacks like Dak Prescott and others. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I love that John Beck says, it's directly in line with what you said, is he says that adversity is not just an important part in the process of becoming a quarterback. Adversity is an absolute necessity in becoming a quarterback, because if you don't face adversity, process it, handle it, and surpass it, you're not prepared to be a leader at that level on a sports field. And I think that theme is consistent behind everything that you're saying, and I love that so much.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, Chad, because there's multiple ways to face adversity. We have to respect different personalities. Some people get really quiet, right? They'll go within. They'll get a guide. They'll get a mentor. They'll get someone, and it's going to be very privately done, and not too many people are going to know about it, right? The adversity they're going to deal with on their own. Yeah. Others run away from it, and they don't want to face it, so they'll focus on their strengths again, right? They'll just continue to look at, but I do this really well, and they won't look at that missing piece. As a matter of fact, I'll tell another basketball story from the book. Duncan Robinson with the Miami Heat last year. In 3 years, Chad, he became the #1 most prolific three-point shooter in Miami Heat history. Now, that's going back to 1988 is when the Heat were formed. Wow. In 3 years, he became the most prolific three-point shooter the Miami Heat ever had. They had Ray Allen for a couple seasons, if you remember that. They had Dwayne Wade. I mean, they've had some incredible three-point shooters, right? Who was the guy they call the Golden Arm from North Carolina? They've had all these, and in 3 years, this freaking dude wipes all these records out. But wait a second. We go into the playoffs last year, and after the first round, Duncan Robinson is not seen. He's not getting into any games. Now, during the season, he was relied upon heavily. Now, we also have to remember Tyler Hero was out. He was hurt. So here's their other top three-point shooter, and Duncan Robinson is getting no playing time. And we're going, what the heck's going on? Or Coach Spoelstra will put him in for 2 or 3 minutes, and he yanks him immediately. Then we get to the end of the Boston series. Now, I don't know, and I'm going to send this book to Duncan because I write this story, and I'm going to ask him what happened. But I say in the book, one of two things happened. Either Duncan Robinson saw what he was avoiding doing to get him more playing time, or one of the coaches finally got into his head, or a player got into his head and said, if you don't start doing this, you ain't ever getting back in. Yeah. And what was starting to do this? It was cutting without the ball. He was a stand-up three-point shooter. He started cutting. And as I get excited, as I say in the book, it was all of a sudden Duncan Robinson, another layup. Duncan Robinson, another layup. We hadn't seen Duncan Robinson do layups all season long. All of a sudden, he's getting major minutes in the Denver playoffs. The final NBA finals, Duncan Robinson comes back and he just kicks butt. The adversity he faced was sitting on the bench when he's heralded. Can you imagine that mentally? You're heralded as the most incredible three-point shooter ever with the Miami Heat basketball team, and you're in the playoffs and you're on the bench. I mean, that would screw with most people's heads. And it did screw with his until somehow the lock turned the key, or the key turned the lock, opened it up, and he went off. I love this stuff.